Now we're going to move to today's business news on the programme. Brian Quinn from France 24's business desk is joining us. He's starting today with skyrocketing crude oil prices, having some major knock-on effects right across the markets as we start the trading week, isn't it, Brian?
Indeed, Stuart. Crude oil futures are at 13-year highs. Prices continuing to climb as the ongoing Russian invasion of Ukraine rattles commodities markets. European benchmark Brent crude briefly topped $130 per barrel. Now, it has since subsided a bit as hopes grow for a revival of the Iran nuclear deal and an end to export sanctions there. Western sanctions have so far avoided targeting Russian oil and gas exports for fear of triggering a supply shock on energy markets, particularly here in Europe. The continent gets some 40% of its natural gas and 25% of its liquid petroleum from Russian exports. That could be about to change, though. Since the start of the war, traders have become reluctant to deal in Russian crude in anticipation of potential coming sanctions. There have been exceptions. British oil giant Shell drew the ire of Ukraine's foreign minister with its decision to purchase a shipment of Russian crude on Friday. But momentum does seem to be growing for Western sanctions on Russian energy. The UK says it's ready to consider a ban, as is the US. Here's Secretary of State Antony Blinken Sunday.
We are now in very active discussions with our European partners about banning the import of Russian oil to our countries, while, of course, at the same time maintaining a steady global supply of oil.
Well, those surging oil prices are weighing heavily on stock markets. Analysts say markets appear to have been taken somewhat by surprise with the possibility of Russian energy sanctions. European indexes opening deep in negative territory. The CAC 40 here in Paris down some 2.6%. The Frankfurt DAX down 3.33%. That's after losing more than 4% in Friday's session. Asian indexes on the same downward trend Monday. Oil companies got a bounce as prices spike. Not nearly enough, though, to offset losses in other sectors. The Nikkei in Tokyo dropped nearly 3%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng off nearly 4%, with the Kospi in Seoul down 2.33% at the closing bell there. Next, the exodus of Western companies from Russia continues. Netflix has gone from pausing production there to suspending its service entirely. Top accounting firms KPMG and PwC have also just announced a halt on their Russian activities. Western card payment giants, too, are pulling out, with Visa, MasterCard, and American Express all turning off their Russian services over the weekend. Inka Oyetade has more.
American Express is the latest card payment giant to suspend operations in Russia. The company now joins Visa and MasterCard, who announced Saturday that their cards issued in Russia won't work outside the country and those issued from abroad won't work in Russia.
Noting the unprecedented nature of the current conflict and the uncertain economic environment, we have decided to suspend our network services in Russia.
We are compelled to act following Russia's unprovoked invasion of Ukraine and the unacceptable events that we have witnessed.
Major corporations across a range of industries have stopped doing business in Russia since the invasion of Ukraine. Online payment platform PayPal is also temporarily halting its operation there, another measure which could have a strong impact on the population.
Ultimately, the sanctions are also targeting the Russian economy and targeting the Russian people by way of consequence. And I think what's one of the aims of the Western nations is to try to get some sense of resentment and anger from the Russian people that may also put pressure on the government of Vladimir Putin.
Russia's main banks have downplayed the impact of the cards being suspended. They say the cards will still work in the country until their expiration date. The Russian economy is being hit hard by sanctions, and much of the damage is being felt by ordinary Russians. The value of the ruble has fallen in recent days.
Well, it's not just Western firms that are halting their Russian operations. TikTok, the social media giant owned by Chinese tech company ByteDance, has suspended the posting of all video content from within the country. Beijing has so far refrained from directly criticizing its Russian ally over the invasion, but with new fake news regulations threatening up to 15 years in prison for spreading information counter to Moscow's official narrative, even Chinese companies are feeling the chill. TikTok says it's reviewing the safety implications of the new law for its Russian employees. The platform has an estimated 36 million users in Russia. Now, finally, for business, the UK is rushing to bolster its legal ability to sanction Russian oligarchs. London has come under criticism for the slow pace of sanctions over the Ukraine invasion. Only 13 Russian individuals have been hit with penalties. Compare that with hundreds in the EU. Now, up to now, British law has made it difficult to quickly impose sanctions, but new emergency legislation should streamline the process. The changes could upend London's high-end real estate market, where for decades Russian oligarchs have parked their often ill-gotten assets in luxury housing. Joseph Keane reports.
In central London, the gate of former Arsenal Football Club owner Alexander Usmanov closes. For decades now, rich neighbourhoods across the British capital have received an influx of wealthy Russian property owners. But following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, pressure has mounted on the UK government to crack down on this.
Londongrad is the name for the Russian presence in London, and London's really the most important city in the world after Moscow for the Russian elite. This is where they stash their cash. They invest their money here through the City of London. They buy high-end residential property.
Transparency International says 1.8 billion euros worth of UK property has been bought by Russians with links to the Kremlin or corruption. The lack of rules on foreign investment in UK property have made London an attractive target. But new legislation is threatening to freeze more than £1 billion worth of real estate and permanently change the city's high-end housing market. A 2020 parliamentary report noted a number of British politicians had business interests linked to Russia.
Mr. Speaker, Roman Abramovich is the owner of Chelsea Football Club and various other high-value assets in the United Kingdom. He's a person of interest to the Home Office because of his links to the Russian state and his public association with corrupt activity and practices.
Britain's sanctions have so far focused on a small group of oligarchs close to Vladimir Putin. London attracted more than $3 billion of foreign property investment in 2021, more than any other city in the world.
That's it for business. Back to you, Stuart.
Thanks very much, Brian. Brian with the business news here on France 24.